Hi and welcome to the OCR Review, a podcast that covers all things OCR from all around the world.
The first truly international OCR podcast. We are from the UK, living in Asia and following the US racing scene to bring you a holistic overview of what's going on in OCR globally. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the OCR Review. We are super excited to be joined by Matt Coulthard today. He is an athlete from a slightly different type of OCR background. So he is one of the fittest firefighters, a two-time British champion of the FireFighter Challenge. So welcome to the podcast.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
So Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I know that when we were looking at your bio, you are an incredibly decorated athlete in your field. So Firefighter Challenge, I know that there's all sorts of different types. Jay and I actually watched the London's Fittest Firefighter event back in around 2015 when we were first getting into OCR. So it's certainly been something that's been an area of interest for us for a while. We know that you have competed both at kind of a local and also a world level. So welcome and tell us a little bit about the Firefighter Challenges.
Well, the Firefighter Challenge is originated back in the early 1990s, where Dr. Paul Davis was an occupational therapist, was investigating the effects of firefighting and the physical effects it has on the firefighters on a day-to-day basis, carrying out their duties. So the effects wearing BA masks while undertaking arduous, strenuous exercise. While he was undertaking these tests, he noticed that the firefighters were actually, while they were doing the test, for example, wearing full bunker gear, running up flights of stairs, were coming down and they were timing each other. So the competitive nature of the firefighters was observed by this doctor who was investigating them and said, there's something in this. And out of the back of that was born the Firefighter Combat Challenge, which I think they had the first one in America in 1991, 92. So, and it's been going strong ever since. And it has literally grown to a worldwide event. So started off in America and it's grown to Canada, it's over in Australia, New Zealand, UK, Germany, France, Poland, Austria. So it's growing, just much like OCR. It's one of those terrific sports that everyone just gets into, falls in love with, and just ends up running with it.
Fantastic. And how did you get into the event and competing yourself? Was it a natural kind of interest? Did you see it? How did you find out about it and start to decide you wanted a bit of that?
Well, I've always been a keen sportsman, taking lots and lots of different sports. Like I try to tip my hat in everything I can, try and do as many things as possible. And when I joined the fire service, a friend of mine, a co-teammate, he had taken himself off to the World Police and Fire Games in Ireland the year previous. And no one else wanted to do the training with him. And when I joined, he knows what I was like with regards to I just love training. I'll do everything and anything. And he said, Matty, we've got this competition. Do you want to come? I said, yes, sign me up. I'd become a firefighter. And within 2-3 months, I was off running around the course, badly, I may say, as a complete novice. But like I say, absolutely got bit by the bug and fell in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. And I think I'd love to dive into your sporting background a little bit. But before we do, for people who maybe aren't as familiar in what the challenge entails, as a newbie coming in, what did you have to go through as a standard challenge? And is the competition standardized, or do you have to do different things depending on where it is that you're competing?
Yeah, well, basically, it generally falls into 2 categories. So we have the Firefighter Combat Challenge, which is pretty much standardized throughout the world, what the challenge is actually designed to do is replicate what a firefighter will face in a line of duty, in a real life firefighting situation. So it's full firefighting equipment. So we're looking at if you have our kit on our cylinder on our back, so you're going to have to carry the cylinder plus your mask, you're looking at around 14, 15 kilos. Then your firefighting boots, your equipment. So you're looking at a good 30 kilos of weight on your body before you even start the race. And then the race starts off with a firefighting hose, which is 20 kilos, standardized weight, which we stand at the bottom of a 12-meter tower. So as the buzzer goes, you set off, you throw the hose on your shoulder, you run up the 4 flights of stairs, you drop the pack on the top landing. So that replicates having to carry equipment up the staircase. Then we go on to the hauling. So there's a rope preloaded with a pack as well. Again, it's 20 kilo pack. And then you have to lean over the banister and you have to haul on a rope up over your head. This, or any way you can get it up, any way possible. A 20 kilo pack, which is if you grab yourself a 20 kilo kettlebell or dumbbell, just pick it up from the floor and bring it up above your head. You see how it's kind of heavy.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty heavy snatch.
That over. We run down the stairs. Yeah. Then you have to run down the staircase, hitting every step as you go down. If you miss a step, you get a penalty.
Oh, okay.
Which is a pain in the bum because it lost me a British title. It cost me a British title. And really, that's one of my painstaking ones.
And so it's a time penalty for missing.
So you get to the bottom of the tower, and then we have a forcible entry machine. So this is what we call the Kaiser. So basically, it's an 80 kilo metal block and a big dead blow, it's like a big rubber sledgehammer. And you have to move this 80 kilo block X amount of distance as if you're forcing your way through a door or busting yourself away through a broken floor. And once you've done that, you set off through a slalom. So you run approximately 40 minutes through a slalom. You pick up a fully charged hose, throw it over your shoulder, and you have to drag this hose for 40 meters back down the course, burst through a door, hit a target with the hose, drop the hose down, and then everyone's favourite event is the dummy drag, which is fondly known by us as Randy. We have to pick up Randy and we have to casualty rescue him, drag him the full length of the course back down.
Wow.
And that is the run, that's the course.
Wow. And that's incredible. I actually, so I was watching it the other day, and we looked up one of your events that was on YouTube, and I didn't realise that missing the stairs was a penalty. So I was like, why are they not jumping full flights of stairs? Surely that'd be quicker. So yeah, that's but less safe. Yeah, and I guess there's no fireman's pole on the way down either to make things easier. It's like you've got to take the manual way down.
Yeah, absolutely. You got the manual way down. You got to run down hitting every single step.
The other thing that I was interested in was you talking about the pulling the rope up by the pulling the weight up by the rope, because that's not a natural movement. You know, like that kind of upwards pulling motion is quite a unique and difficult motion. It's yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean
absolutely. It's more of it's what we would call a functional fitness movement, something that would happen in everyday life, much the same as what you guys will see in your OCRs. These movements you do, pulling yourselves up, pushing, pulling, flipping tires, swinging on the hoops or monkey bars. It's more natural way of human moving as opposed to going to the gym and just literally repeating the same old movements time and time again. Yeah. These are natural human traits of how to move.
So I've got a question. You were talking about the equipment, and in OCR in our sport, we get really bogged down into kind of like what shorts we should wear, like Lycra, and we get into like big long conversations about like what's the best shoe. But you're running around in boots and like fireproof gear and the breathing apparatus. So I've got a couple of questions. One, is the oxygen tank full, and do you have to breathe through it, or the air tank full, and do you have to breathe through it, or is it empty? And two, when I was watching some of the international events, obviously European firefighting gear is kind of different looking to the naked eye to some of the American gear. So in some of those international events, do you have to standardize your equipment? Like, is it supplied? Do you wear your own? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so basically, all the firefighting equipment that we use during the event has to be structural firefighting and recognized as such. So, for example, the Americans have their American version of our BSEN, so it has to meet a required grade to be able to use it, exactly the same as it would do in a real firefighting situation. So it has to be fit for purpose, it has to be structural firefighting. The Americans have a different version to the Europeans, but when you go to the World Championships in America, they accept our equipment as long as we meet the European criteria.
Okay. And is there any weight difference? Does anyone get an edge or an advantage?
With one exception.
Or what's the exception?
Okay, we've been allowed, we have our own special cool helmets that we wear.
Right.
So mine is an old World War II German soldier's helmet that we've had resprayed. It's covered in flames. It looks amazing. And because it looks so cool, they've said, look, guys, it's heavy. It's from World War II. It's not like it's light. So we're going to give you an advantage. So, right, you can wear it. So, fortunately, because we're cheeky, they let us go with it and wear our cool helmet.
Perfect.
No,
okay, I think that's a fair exception.
Yeah, it's like your racing stripes.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, we love a bit of personalised racing gear.
Exactly.
Great.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, it's incredible that I guess it's still a fairly young sport, coming up maybe 30 odd years, that it is so standardized. And that's definitely something that we're seeing in some other OCR events, but I don't think quite to the degree that the Firefighting Challenge has got to yet. So I want to actually take a step backwards and go into your fitness background a little bit, how you got into firefighting in the first place, and then I guess you kind of covered the jump that you made into the competition, but what was your fitness background? Have you always been a bit of an enthusiast, or were you competitive in other sports beforehand?
Well, I'm the absolute typical boy growing up. Every sport went. So back home in the UK, it would have been football, rugby. We did judo. I did boxing, tennis. Anything that was to play, I did it. Tiddlywinks, table tennis, everything. So, so absolutely everything. And then I got quite seriously into football when I was younger. Then I had a knee injury playing football, like everyone gets injured playing football. And then I turned my hand to mixed martial arts, and I had a relatively good career there where I had 7 fights, really enjoyed the discipline, the training aspect of it, learning something new. And then from there, we just progressed and joined the fire service, and it was just another brand new challenge, something else to do, and just got into the firefighting side of it, and just loved it.
Fantastic. And so we were talking a little bit about it being a functional fitness training thing. Now, one of the things that makes your training quite unique is you're not just training for this event, your training is tied intrinsically to your job as well. How do you balance the training and life? It's not like an office job and trying to balance the time. Like, I imagine for some of you, you need to think about how you push yourself, because I imagine this might not be true, but if you burn out on deadlifts one day and then you've got to attend a casualty later that evening or the next shift, and how does that play into it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Basically, our training, we're very fortunate in the sense that because we are firefighters, part of our structured day is dedicated for physical fitness training, because by the job that we have to do, we have to be physically fit. We have to be able to run up tower blocks. We have to be able to pick up a person and carry them out. We have to be able to carry heavy equipment. So we're very, very fortunate in the sense that we do have part of our working day allocated purely to train, which works out perfectly for me. I get to dedicate my training time specifically for what I'm training at the time.
That's amazing. And can you talk us through a little bit
with regards?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
With regards to being not overtraining, being ready to react to a call out for any given situation, I think we're all pretty much on the level where on a real situation, a real fire call, regardless how much you've trained, the adrenaline will kick in.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless how much you train, you will find the additional energy to carry on. There's also being sensible as well. So if you know you're going into a night shift and you need to be sharp, we probably would do like the rule of thumb, the 20-80 training principle, where you do your 80% of your training at certain capacity, and then the real hard interval training, or you know you're going to be passing out because you're going to push yourself that hard. That'll be done at a specific time when we know, okay, we're off shift tomorrow. We'll do it in the morning, and then we know we can just go home and pass out.
Yeah, nice. I totally get that. And I think actually I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you structure your training time. So it's interesting that you follow the 80-20 rule, but how does that look for you in terms of your mix of cardio versus weight work versus functional fitness? Where do you tend to structure things?
Okay, so basically I used to be very, very poor at structuring training sessions. I used to just be here, there and everywhere. I'll do this, I'll do that. I'd always have DOMs, I'd always have sore muscles. And it's not now I'm getting to the more mature years that I've now started taking things a lot seriously, structuring my training, and I'm actually reaping the rewards for it. Now I actually take things, and it goes across the board, from diet to sleep to rest to everything. Now has an impact. And it's that old saying where you can be very, very talented at something, but if you don't work hard in a sensible way, you're never going to see your full potential and manifest that talent into what it could possibly be. But now I have the experience to say, well, you can't carry on just being a lunatic and burning yourself out every single day. You have to be kept sensible, you have to be structured, and that is key now.
Yeah. So what would if you were to give us an insight into like your average week of training, like do you have a kind of overview of what that looks like? I know at the moment you're training for a different event, which we'll get into a bit later, but when you were in those first couple of years, when you were kind of looking at training for Fittest Firefighter and kind of that requirements, was there anything particular that you had to focus on, or? Yeah,
so although the event generally is, for the firefighter competition, around, it varies between the 2-minute mark to the 4-minute mark, depending on your level and your ability. So now that sounds like it's going to be pure power, explosive, it's only short, but actually, because of the nature of the event, when you're actually running between things, cardio is huge. So you had to have a very delicate balance between your strength and conditioning and your cardio side. So, and one of the new fitness phenomena that have come around recently is CrossFit. So what we were able to do was marry up CrossFit training along with the functional fitness of the specific movements that we had to do as part of our event, and kind of make a happy medium between them to be able to create the best training plan we could specifically for our event.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm ever so jealous about the fact that your job is also your sport in some ways, and you know what you're saying about those specifics of having the hoses and all that stuff and the hour to train, that it's all right there. Some of that is the frustration for us as OCR runners. You know, it's hard to come across a set of monkey bars, or it's hard to find a sandbag of a specific weight, or a loner runs into problems sometimes, don't you, with picking up the sandbags from the free weights area of your gym and then walking them over to the treadmill.
Oh yeah, I get into trouble because I try and take the sandbag on the treadmill to like do my running carries, and yeah, they're not about that. I regularly get told like, no, that's for the functional fitness area.
I can only imagine how it looks when I can imagine how it looks when the parents are giving you horrible looks because you're shooing their children off the monkey bars at the park.
Yeah, also true.
Do you know what? We've recently just moved house, and actually in our condo now, we've got a little fitness area, and it has got some monkey bars, but they're quite short. So I don't know if they are designed for kids, but me being 6'2", obviously my knees are on the floor, so it's not quite the challenge.
Maybe some knee tuck dead hangs.
Some knee tuck dead hangs would definitely do it.
That's true. Cool. Okay, so we've covered a little bit of your training then. In terms of how that balances through the week, I know that you said you've kind of got your hour that gets dedicated to that as part of your shift pattern. Are you looking at that being 5 days a week, 6 days a week? How does that work in terms of time on and time off? And then what do you do to recover if you're doing that as part of your shift?
Well, I'm very fortunate here in Gibraltar because our working week is we work 2 days, 2 nights, and then 2 off. So we train in the afternoon on the 2 days, and then we get the following day off until we start our night shift. And then we train in the evening for 2 nights. Right. Okay. So then we've got, it's perfect the way the split works to be able to structure the training, allow to get the amount of recovery time needed. And then we have periodical 2 days off, and then you can do active rest in those 2 days. You can go for a swim or a cycle and do some other form of exercise and training just to keep the blood flowing, keep the body, keep all the tendons and ligaments nice and loose. And it just works perfectly for us.
Actually, yeah, that sounds great, actually, doesn't it? Having that kind of baseline of structure and those kind of already kind of almost prescribed days off to kind of fill it with like some of that active rest and stuff sounds really, really good.
And then how much of the specific work are you building in? So you're doing some CrossFit, you're doing some specifics. Are you hitting every training session in your gear and hefting hoses around? Oh, yeah. Are you doing more of the functional work and then just building in the specifics and the stair running and that sort of thing nearer to the competition?
Well, so how we would do it is we'd kind of all throughout the year, you're always training anyway, and you have a base level of where you are and what you're doing. But then, as you know, competition time's coming, you then structure in and you're building up. So it's because you can't compete and can't train 100% all the time. Your body just won't be able to cope with it, with the level of intensity that requires. So you have to be sensible and time things, just the same as you do with any sport to be able to compete at your prime. So, for example, so we'll start off, say we're 3 months out from competition, we're already fit anyway. So this is building on the base fitness level that you already have. And during this time, that I personally find that it's general training, covering everything, not just training in one element, one item, because that causes imbalances in the body. So if you're just in the gym throwing weights around like a strongman all day long, your flexibility, your suppleness is going to be affected. If you're the other way around and you're just stretching, then you're not going to have much muscularity, etc., etc. So I think you have to have a mix of everything to be able to cover all the bases. So, and I think it's a guy that I've been following very recently, a phenomenal athlete called Ross Edgley.
Big fans.
Yeah, we're fans.
And he's fantastic guy. I've read a couple of his books now, and he's researched like historically that, for example, the famous Russian lifters from back in the day that had all the world champions, the power lifters, before they go into their main strength training program, they do a pre-program of general preparedness, which basically means covering everything. So you could be doing bear crawls along the floor, swinging from monkey bars, OC kind training, and this activates all the ligaments, all the tendons, all the joints, and it moves everything, and it just allows to get that general whole level of fitness before you then start concentrating on your specifics.
Yeah, man. So with the, thinking a little bit more about like the events that you participated in, so you were talking about like how it's been all over the world and you've competed abroad and at home. Is there a particular nation or event that like is a standout for you?
Well, obviously the like the equivalent of tennis, Wimbledon is the big cherry on the cake for every tennis player. Ours is the World Championships in America. To be able to go from Europe to the home of the sport to America, compete in the World Championships is the icing on the cake. That's what everyone aims for. That's your beginning of the season. You're looking at the end of the season, getting to the World Championships. That's it right there. But putting that aside, we have competitions all throughout Europe, and then you guys will be able to relate to this, I'm sure. The firefighting competition community isn't that big.
Yeah.
In the sense that when you go to these competitions, you get to meet all the same athletes, all the same competitors. And this is very corny. This is any other firefighter to me now is going to take the mickey, but it really is the brotherhood. He said you can travel all around the world and you'll go and meet your brothers and your sisters through these competitions. Through the competitions, I now have friends everywhere around the world. And it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's such a nice thing that friendships can be born out of sports, from appreciation and respect for, what other people are going through, either through training or through what they're taking out in the day-to-day life as part of their duties. And I know you guys can relate to that, because I'm sure that the OCR community is pretty much the same thing.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, for us, I think that was what made us actually feel the most settled in Asia when we first moved out to Singapore a few years back, was that as we kind of fell more into the OCR community and started traveling around with the championship series to all of the different Southeast Asian countries, and then to APACs when we started getting a little bit more advanced, is that now we literally have friends all over the region. And that's incredible to go and have someone who'd be like, oh yeah, after the race, let's go to this great place that we know that's like, the local place to eat, and let's go out to this place. And so to suddenly have that kind of insider knowledge and community where you feel like, you're welcome in every city is, it's incredible. That's what made Asia feel like home for us, I think.
Yeah. So for a loner, there was, the...
Superb. Like you say, the question you asked me before, I keep waffling on and forgetting to answer the question.
That's all right. We love that.
My favourite place is Torun in Poland. So it's a small city, university town in the middle of nowhere in Poland, but we're blessed we get to visit these places to compete, because it's absolutely beautiful. Architecture is to die for. There's like history you wouldn't believe, and the people are so welcoming. And it's the one competition that we have in Europe where it's 2 competitions held over 3 days. So we have the Firefighter Combat Challenge, which is just a one-off race. And then you have the toughest firefighter alive now, which is very similar to the combat race, but it's 4 stages back to back.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's when the endurance side of it comes in. So that's where, for example, myself, I'm not one of the heavier guys. I weigh around, at the moment, I've lost a bit of weight, so I'm around 80 kilos. So the Firefighter Combat Challenge, the guys that are bordering on like 100 kilos that can really pick up that 90 kilo dummy like it's a toy to them and run backwards, tend to have an easier time than me. But then when we get to the toughest firefighter alive, which is the same thing, but you have to do it once, then you have to do it twice, and you have to repeat similar things over and over. That's when the endurance and the cardio side kicks in, and that's where I might be on par over the first time, but when they start getting tired because they're bigger, is where I can step up and keep going.
That's where you got your edge.
Maintain the same level.
Nice. That sounds really cool.
My edge.
Yeah. So is that event specific to Poland then, or is that another one that you can be involved in?
No, you get them all around the world, all over Europe, but this one in particular, because where it is, it's a beautiful place, and we just love it. We're just falling in love.
Sounds really cool. So go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, with that, you compete on both an individual basis and a team basis. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So what we have in the combat challenge is you do it individually. So that means you wear all the gear and you're under end, and that's the game changer. Doing the event on its own is tough, but the minute you've got that mask on your face and your breathing is restricted, oh my God, it literally is. And it's this is a televised event in America, and it's televised by ESPN, and they've dubbed it the toughest 2 minutes in sports. And they really mean it. It truly is. It is something to behold. I don't think there's one time where you get to the finish line and you just can't get that mask off your face quick enough. It's like I've had one of my teammates has blacked out literally, and we're like, "Oh, put the mask back on, give him more."
Oh gosh,
it is that tough. We have medics at the end in a medical tent with oxygen ready to put on the guys. It is that tough. It's I've done numerous things through the years. I've done like cross country, trail running. And they're all tough. They all have their own individual merits and their own difficulties, but nothing compares to the Firefighter Challenge competitions that I've done.
Yeah, I'm quite jealous I don't get to give it a go. I'd love to someone to run me through a course.
Well, I tell you, if there's ever a competition anywhere, you're in town, you come and see me, we'll sort that out.
Oh, yeah.
And then he'll eat his words and be like, yeah, no, I'm happy to do it without a mask on.
I was thinking we could do a me versus you.
Oh, well, yeah, that'll do. Which actually, on that note, do ladies compete in this?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do indeed, which is phenomenal because in the firefighting world, there's no such thing as boy and girl. We're firefighters, end of story. So a girl has to be able to do exactly the same as a man have to do. If one of your colleagues or a casualty needs to be rescued, if you're there, you have to pick them up, whether you're a boy or you're a girl. So we actually, again, it's a small community. The girls do tend to struggle a little bit more, and that's only because of their physical size.
Yeah.
It's a man generally just tends to be a bit bigger. But that being said, I have a couple of friends, and that is my friend, one in particular, May. She's a current British champion, current European champion, current world champion.
Wow.
And she's probably up there mixing it with the top level guys as well. She's something to behold. She's a phenomenal athlete and an advocate for female firefighters and just for women in general, and athletic ability.
That sounds awesome. Because I mean, something in the Spartan world is obviously there's men and women competing side by side, but actually some of it is what I'm trying to say, differentiated. So your weights are a little bit lighter and your steps are a little bit lower, or like the walls are you have a step up and stuff. So is there any, like you said, like obviously as a firefighter, if one of your colleagues goes down, you've got to pull them out. So in this event, is there any weight deviation, or is it as standard, men do exactly the same as women do?
As standardized across the board.
I love that.
And it relates back to what you would have to do in the line of duty.
100%.
There is no double standards. There is you're a firefighter. There's no boy, there's no girl. You're a firefighter. You have to do exactly the same job as each other. So, and that's how it is in the competition, which is exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
The only slight difference is you can be merited on your abilities. So there's set times. If you run a certain time, you can become a Lions Den member, which is the elite fraternity of the world's fastest finishers. So that's what a lot of people strive to achieve, to join this club of fast finishers. And there's different timings for different abilities. So you have the open men, you have to run under 100 seconds. The girls, I think, are 2.5 minutes. Then you have the over 40s get a time, the over 45s and over 50s, and you can achieve the time, but you get slightly longer to do it. But you still have to do exactly the same thing.
How would you feel about that? Would you like for Spartan? Would you? Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think it's awesome.
So you'd be up for just doing all man,
100%.
And it just be and the difference just be the time. Yeah,
100%.
Cool. Yeah.
Like, because I think there is still some stigma in OCR about, but the girls are doing it slower, and we've seen over the years people playing around with like who gets to flag off first and that sort of thing. But yeah, like 100%, I would love to have more competitions, not have the weight deviation, and the course is the course and your time is the time. Like, I think that'd be awesome.
I think it'd be interesting. I think it would be good, and also it would quell a lot of the conversations when people talk about prize money. Because Spartan has been fantastic in that, like with a lot of sports where it is that kind of equal prize cash. But there are some people who are like, oh, but did they really run the course the same? And all of that, knock that on its head, wouldn't it, straight away? Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I also say this coming from someone who is a bit taller and, maybe a bit stockier than some of the other females, especially here in Asia. Maybe if I was, lighter and shorter, that I would be like, no, because I can't reach the monkey bars. But no, I mean, I think to have it as a standard, it should be the standard, same as a marathon is a marathon.
Yeah.
Like,
one more question that I've got for you, Matt, is you were talking about like wanting to get to America and that to be the finals and stuff. What does the qualification process look like? Is it like a pyramid series where you do like your country and then the region, or is it just timed events, or how does that work?
Okay, so in America, they have local regionals, so it'll be their local region. Then they go to state, and then they go to worlds, and then you have to run a certain time to be able to qualify for each level.
Right.
So that's how it works in the States. In Europe, we just have, you can qualify right out by running X time, and you can go straight into worlds. We don't have to go through the regionals because there's so much less of us.
Okay.
And then, or because we're from Europe, you can get in on a wild card. So you can apply, and then they had 3 days of qualifying. So it's a 4 weeks of competition, and then you can get a wild card. So if you haven't managed to run the time, but you think, I just had a bad run in Europe, but I know I can run quicker, you can turn up, you can get a wild card place, and if you run the time, you can then qualify to get into the actual finals where the competition really starts.
Interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. I like that. Yeah. Sounds like a sensible solution to moving on and going through. Is obviously, like at the moment with COVID going on and all those kinds of things, are people doing any kind of virtual events where they're like setting it up in their fire station and doing it virtually, or has it just been knocked on the head for this year?
Well, okay, so yeah, I know in some states in America, they're continuing as per normal. They're trying to make sure they do the social distancing and stuff, but they're running the competitions as normal. In UK, we've it's quite young, the competition. It's called the British Firefighter Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And
brilliant product placement.
It's only been up and running for the last 4 years. It's run by a couple of friends of mine. They've done an absolutely phenomenal job of getting it arranged and planning. This year, obviously, it got cancelled. But off the back of the British competition, Cheshire have organised their own regional competition as well, which is fantastic. Again, that one got cancelled. And a couple of the guys there, they had a fantastic idea. And they made a virtual reality competition where the firefighter, you just basically measured out the course, it's all standardized, and you did it on your own, and you just sent your video in, and the results just came out last week, and it was fantastic.
Awesome.
All the people that joined part, there was people from all over the world were joining in on this virtual firefight challenge.
That sounds really good. Did you give it a go out in your fire station? Did you get a chance to participate?
No, I didn't, because I couldn't, because I'm injured.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. So yeah, well, that was actually going to be our next question. So obviously with you holding one of the championship titles and stuff at the moment, what's your look ahead? What's the kind of next steps for you?
Well, I've had probably the strangest year ever in my athletic career, and that's putting COVID to the side. So last year, I was actually taking part in a OCR televised racing event, one of my friends arranged, and I hurt my finger. I just did some damage to the ligaments, and I couldn't hold anything. I couldn't do any proper weight training with that hand. And it was like, I can't not train. It's just not in me, and I'm going to go nuts if I don't do something. So my girlfriend is a phenomenal swimmer and cyclist. So I started going swimming with her, and within a month I went, this is all right, I'm going to give this a go. And being daft as I am, and the competitive person, I just, there's something to do. If someone else has done it, I can do it. That's how my head works. So instead of just being normal and saying, I'm going to take part and do a small triathlon, I said, I'm going to do an Ironman. So I started training for that.
Nice.
Amazing.
If you're going to do it, do the whole thing, right?
Whole. So has that event happened yet, or is that what's kind of coming up on the calendar for you?
Well, unfortunately, because of COVID, it got cancelled. But at the same time as the whole COVID thing came around and the competition got cancelled, I actually started having a bad back. And then again, this is something, and I have to say this, I didn't take my own advice. I always tell everyone, if you feel an injury, rest it, get it checked out, make sure. I didn't take my own advice, and I carried on training, I carried on pushing myself, and I've ended up giving myself a prolapse disc. which is not good, which has put me out from, I can't run. I'll get into it now, but I've now started training again and getting myself into a better place physically again. But that put me on the complete back burner to my training. So I've had to cancel the Ironman. But that being said, that injury, I've now, another life's lesson, always listen to your body. If you feel a niggle, get it checked out. I've taken that on board now. But through rehab and rehabilitation to get myself sorted out and fixed, I started doing a lot of swimming. And now that's my new love, my new passion. And now I'm doing lots and lots and lots of swimming.
And you've got quite a big swim planned, haven't you, coming up in the next few weeks?
Yes, we do. Funnily enough, it's less than 4 weeks away now. Again, as I was saying, if there's something to be done, let's do it. So there's quite an infamous swim, which is called Round the Rock. So it's round Gibraltar. So you have to swim around the whole country. Now, if you swim in straight lines, it's an 11.5K swim, which to a novice swimmer like me, that's humongous. That's massive. To give you perspective of how far that is, the equivalent. So say if you're running a marathon, you're 42 kilometers or 26 miles. The equivalent of a swim is 10 kilometers. So we are going to attempt an 11.5K swim. But that's if you swim straight, and I'm not the best. So it'll end up being 12 something for me, but if I get to the end.
I'm sure you do great. And
now, this is...
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so basically I have a training partner, the guy who I was training with while I was preparing for the Ironman. And he himself is a phenomenal athlete. My friend, Mr. Gary Evans, he's completed multiple Ironman. His first attempt, he did the Marathon des Sables, which is known as one of the world's toughest endurance running races through the Sahara Desert. And I could give you a perspective. He basically, on his first time out, came 27th, which if you're supposed to be considered a world top athlete if you finish in the top 50, and he came 27th on his first time out. So that gives you an insight to what he has up here. Yeah. So, and it was me and him have been training together, and we were swimming along. We said, and as he says in his Welsh accent, "All right, bro, this is getting a bit too easy. What can we do?" That's a terrible Welsh accent, isn't it? Anyway, so he said, "How about we swim around the rock?" And of course, stupidly, I agreed. I thought it was a great idea. So we've planned it. So we can do it for charity. And hopefully we get a few swimmers to join us. We make a few money for local charities, and I tick another one of those bucket list items off my list.
Yeah, around the rock. That sounds incredible.
I was going to say, there's not many people that can say they swam around the country, so that's pretty cool.
This is true. And if people who are listening, if they want to get involved and help to donate to your charity and to follow along virtually, is there a way that they can do so?
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page up and running. We're soon to be putting a link up for a Just Giving page. So if anyone wants to be lovely and kind enough to share some pennies for our local charities, that absolutely the more the merrier.
100%. We can definitely put that in the in our links and stuff at the end of this episode, so we can hopefully drive some of our listeners towards your way for worthwhile causes and decent athletic feats.
Absolutely.
So that sounds really good.
Oh no, I feel like you've added to my bucket list already as well now, like Round the Rock. This one's already made me jealous because he did a round Singapore cycle, which I now have to go and do because everyone else has done it and I haven't. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good day out. That is. It's about 120 kilometers in total around Singapore, so no, it's fun. That's a workout of the week one. So, okay, we usually no, go on. You had a question.
Sounds good.
Okay, we usually finish off, Matt, with just some like quick fire type questions. They're kind of OCR based, but I'm sure you can relate to some of them as well, so we can kind of hit you up with some of those, and one of them is fairly pertinent at the moment. So if you had to choose between a heavy carry or a fast incline, what would you prefer?
Oh, that's a good question. So a heavy carry or a fast incline? I'd take either or. I'm gonna be flaky.
Okay.
Both at the same time.
A muddy mile or a sub 10-minute swim?
Oh, muddy mile all day long. It's got to be more fun, surely.
With your upcoming swim, I'm not sure that's the right answer. Okay, short course or long course? So we're looking at like 1 to 2 kilometers, like hard and fast, kind of like your British firefighter stuff, or looking up to that sort of half marathon distance?
Do you know what? It's exactly the same again. I don't care. If it's there to challenge me, I'll do both.
Fair enough. Okay. That one's too OCR specific. Okay. If you had the choice to go to a run through a forest or on the beach?
Forest.
Winter or summer?
Oh, that's a good. It depends which season we're in, because we're in the southern tip of Spain. It's hot. So when it's really hot, sometimes you want the winter and the snow. But when it's winter and it's cold, you want the sun. So I think it depends when you ask me. Right now, I say winter, just for a change.
And that's actually something we get really jealous of. Living in Singapore, we're only 2 degrees off the equator, so it's just hot and humid all year round. We've got no seasons here. Just every now and then we get a rainy season, but the temperature doesn't change. It's just wet. That's the only thing. Okay, your favorite post-workout snack?
Oh, I shouldn't say a pint, should I? I'll get told off.
That really feeds into what you were saying about, recovery, nutrition.
Yeah.
You go for a Guinness, it's got iron in it.
Post-recovery, it depends on what I'm doing, to be fair. But yeah, I'd usually have some form of recovery shake, maybe a bowl of porridge and dates with almonds. They're my number one go-to, dates with almonds.
Oh, nice.
That sounds good.
And that's one of my energy fuel sources as well. Little tip for you there. Energy,
great.
Quick snack, dates with almonds.
Dates and almonds, perfect.
Have you found that, sorry, I'm going to jump off of the quick fire. Have you found that the way that you've snacked during training has changed as you've shifted from training for the firefighting challenge over to some of the more endurance-based triathlon, endurance swim events?
Yeah, I think it has. When you're doing because you're more strength and conditioning built and you're trying to hold more muscularity, you're literally just putting your hand in the cup and putting anything out and eating it. I'm an advocate for. I don't believe in the word diet. I think that should be banned from everywhere, and it should be a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. And eating everything in moderation, ensuring you're getting, just making sure you're putting everything you need to in. So your carbohydrates, your protein, your fats. Loads of people hear the word fats and they go, oh, fats. You're like, no, you need fats. Fats are so important. And then people, they go into these fad diets and then they don't look at the macronutrients or the micronutrients, which all have an effect on each other. And it's like, no. Even typical. And then someone said, I can't lose weight. I'm on this diet. I said, well, you can eat. A calorie is a calorie, no matter how you look at it. Yeah. So if you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're not going to lose.
That's it, right?
Weight, or you're not going to maintain, and vice versa. If you want to put on weight, well, if you're not putting the calories in, you're burning more. You're not going to get bigger. You're not going to develop any bigger muscles. Yeah. So I truly think that. So as long as you're putting the calories in, obviously, being sensible of what you're eating. Firefighter training is just get the calories in, making sure it's nice and healthy, but don't scrimp and say, make sure you've got your chocolates, make sure you've got your biscuits in there, because you have to be happy at the same time. And but then when it comes to the Ironman training, for example, or the long swim, I personally have to have food on board. So I have my porridge with my banana and my nuts and my honey. But then I'll up the fat content more. So I'll ensure, as well as all my normal food, I'm having lots of avocados and that kind of thing to ensure I've got all the good, nice, healthy fats on board. I'm an advocate for, I don't eat bread. That's one of the things, like, I try to avoid bread, I don't do carbonated drinks. And that's the sort of works for me, but everyone's different. As I said before, I have my friend, Gary. He's an advocate for intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Now, we could go off, we will swim 4 kilometers, jump on the bike, cycle 100, we might be doing 150k cycle straight after, and he'll say, oh, I'm just gonna have a quick banana, bro. After we've done 100, we've been out for like 6 hours, and I was, what do you mean you have a banana now? He said, I haven't had breakfast yet, and I'm like,
I'll be hanging. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
he's the only person in the world that I know who can turn fresh air into energy. Is where if I did that, I'll be eating my arm in 10 minutes.
No doubt.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely there. I've tried the whole kind of intermittent fasting or fasted training, and I've just learned that I'm happier if I start the day with food.
No, and happier is the point. We are both big sufferers of becoming hangry. Like our attitudes just plummet. Like if we ever start having an argument as a married couple, we go and have a snack and then come back at it. Like that's the strategy. It's usually the hunger for.
I think that's one of the important things for anyone watching or listening at home is there's no one size fits all when it comes to diet. Everyone's an individual. Everyone is unique, and their body needs different things to the next person. Like you guys will be eating different foods to each other to make you guys happy and not get hangry. So everyone has to find their food source. So some people operate better on carb base. Some people operate better on fat base. What I find is, if I fancy it, I'm going to eat it. Yeah. Because my body's telling me. Your own body tells you what you want.
It knows, right?
And I just go with that.
Okay. Last two quick fire.
Yeah, I think that's very trendy at the moment as well.
Yeah, definitely like that sort of intuitive eating and grazing eating and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, last 2 quick fire questions. Your favorite training tool?
Okay. All right. I'm going to flip favorite on the head.
Yeah.
And say the love-hate piece of equipment that I have, and I recommend it to anyone who wants an absolute hell of a workout. I refrain from swearing then because it's a properly love-hate relationship. But it has to be the assault bike.
Oh, it's, yeah. Do you know what? I
bike.
knew that was coming as well. I don't think there's anyone that genuinely loves the assault bike, but everyone knows that it's good for you. It's like a bad taste medicine. Like you don't want to take it, but you know that it's good for you. Yeah. In fact, during lockdown, our co-hosts on this program, Jess and Sean, while everyone was out panic buying toilet paper and loo roll and hand sanitizer, they bought themselves an assault bike for their front room, and that was their lockdown tool. That was their lockdown panic buy. So definitely with that love-hate relationship. Yeah. And last one, your favorite recovery activity?
Is this X-rated? Because I can't really say it.
Yeah, we're fairly chill when it comes to swearing and stuff on here.
Sorry, someone was phoning me then. That's my friend Gary, the crazy.
Oh, his ears must have been burning.
He must have been. He sensed it. He knew. So, favourite activity? I actually do like getting on the bike, just having a little spin, or going for a swim and stretching, obviously.
Yeah, nice. Great.
So I find a nice short swim, just say 20 minutes, and it just loosens you up. Especially I like ocean water swimming, so
amazing.
You go in a nice cool water, you you might go in feeling tired and sore, but you get into the nice cold water and you literally come out so invigorated, you just feel ready. I want to train again now.
So Matt, can you take us through your workout of the week?
Favourite workout of the week.
Or favourite workout, yeah.
Favourite workout of the week? Okay, that would be the machine challenge, or as we say here, the Máquina challenge, with the Spanish twist on it. Ooh. So what basically is, it's one of the ultimate cardio workouts. It was devised by one of my colleagues. We call him the Lung for obvious reasons. He's 51 years old and he's still up there in the top 3 or 4 fitness guys in the station. Absolute legend of a guy. Inspiration to me. I look up at him and I'm like, that's where I want to be in 10 years' time. So the machine challenge is, so you have to have 4 pieces of equipment, and it is the treadmill, the rowing machine, the bike, the normal exercise bike or the concept, and the assault bike. So any order you want, you have to do a 10K bike ride, but you have to do it under 20 minutes. Okay, so 10K on the bike, 20 minutes. Then you've got the assault bike, you have to do 8 miles under 20 minutes. Then you've got the treadmill, this is the easier one, if you like running, of course, is 4K under 20 minutes. And then rowing, 5K under 20 minutes. So you can put them in any order you like, but you do each one. Once you finish, jump off, clean the machine, take a swig of water, crack on with the next one.
And do you break them up at all, or do you have to do each in one go straight through?
All one goes straight. Once you jump on it, you have to stay on it, and you have to stay at the pace to be able to complete the distance in the 20 minutes.
That sounds like a spicy session.
Yeah, that sounds like it's got Sean written all over it.
It's a nice one. It's a nice one. It's one of the benchmarks that we have. Okay,
well, I don't even know if I could get past the assault bike.
Yeah, that's...
I could do all the rest of it and then just unfortunately not get to that one.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Right, we normally leave the assault bike till last.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking, what would be worse, starting out with it so you're gassed for everything else, or finishing with it so it kills you at the end and you're like gassed by the time you get there?
Oh no, you know what? I wouldn't want to have it hanging over me. I'd have to start with the assault bike and I'd have to finish with the run, because I know that I like the run.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, for me it would probably go like assault bike, rower, treadmill.
Strategy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Can you choose your own adventure?
I like strategy. Yeah. I personally. Say again.
Oh, I was saying, can you choose your own adventure? What order would you do it in? Or do you do it in?
Okay, so I've mixed it up a few times. I think my preferred method is rowing machine first, the bike, the treadmill to have a bit of rest, because I consider the treadmill one the rest. And then once you've had your rest, get on the devil bike and just grind with your eyes full of tears and pain and misery.
Oh, incredible! And I think we'll maybe leave it there. But just say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been incredible to learn about your various fitness exploits, and we're excited to follow along your journey with your Round the Rock swim. So before we say goodbye, have you got any sponsors, partners, people that you'd like to shout out, the local charities that you're fundraising for that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, we're raising for GBC Open Day. The local broadcasting station here, and they do a massive event every year when they literally raise hundreds of £1,000s for all local charities. So big shout out to them. Again, anyone listening and wants to support us, please donate. Every penny counts. There's no amount too small. And I'd just like to thank all the guys that got backing us, got behind us and supporting us with this challenge.
Fantastic, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Matt, and best of luck in the future.
And that concludes this episode of the OCR Review. We hope you enjoyed it and we'd love to hear from you, so please hit us up on our social media channels. You can email us at theocrreview@gmail.com, find us on Instagram at theocrreview, or on Facebook at the OCR Review.
Remember to send us your thoughts, questions and suggestions for future episodes, and please do subscribe on Spotify, Apple or your podcast platform of choice and leave us a review. We've been
Ilona,
Jay,
Sean
and Jessie.
and this is the OCR Review. Thanks for listening.